Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. I'm joined by my good buddy Kevin Comiskey. Kevin is a longtime Houston Safari Club Foundation member. We're going to talk a little bit about his journey through the organization and some other things that he's involved with on a regular basis. So, Kevin, thank you for joining us today.
Joe, thanks. Thanks for asking me. I'm happy to be here.
So I'm glad. I know you're very involved with the rodeo, so I'm guessing you're glad rodeo's wrapped.
Yeah, that was a fun 3 weeks. I always give the analogy. It's kind of like going on vacation. You're excited to go, but by the time it's over, you're ready to come home too.
Yeah.
But
You and I talked a couple times. I think when you were driving home from working rodeo, and I could tell you were worn out.
yeah, you get to that third week, and
Yeah.
everybody's kind of got the rodeo crud and started to get worn down a little bit
Yeah.
from being out there so much. But it sure is fun while you're doing it.
So did you have a kid participating this year?
Not out there,
Not out
no.
there.
So I've got one that's involved in FFA in
right.
high school, but
Yeah.
he did not show at the rodeo. He helped
Yeah.
a friend of his that was showing, but didn't show at the rodeo this
Yeah.
year.
How were the crowds this year? Big as usual?
Yeah, great. I mean, it
Were you
was.
involved in any of the parking lot fights that went on this year?
No, I can't. I can't say that I was a participant or witnessed any of that. But unfortunate, sometimes that stuff's going to happen when it gets to be late night. But
Yeah.
fortunately, it doesn't happen too often.
Well, those of you who are not from Houston, Houston Rodeo is a big thing. I mean, it's one of the top rodeos in the world. And actually, when I moved here several years ago, the first question I got asked was, "What committee are you going to be on a rodeo?" And so it's a big deal. And I haven't had a chance to get engaged yet because I've been so busy with other stuff. But I mean, it's a huge deal. And I know they had a few fights in the parking lot, or in the midway this year, and but it's such a well-run, well-organized event that, and there was a lot of if you keep up with Houston politics, there was a lot of other stuff that went on that was real fun this year as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, that was riffraff that was involved in that. That definitely wasn't any of the
Right.
volunteers or
No.
anybody associated with the show. I think there's close to 35,000 volunteers now, so it's pretty impressive. It's a well-run organization.
30. I can't imagine just running that and mobilizing that many people to be where they need to be, and it seems to run. It's just like our convention. It run on top of the water. Everything seems to run smoothly, but I know behind the scenes it's just total chaos. And anything that big, I just can't imagine what it takes to run it. But so, folks, you can learn a lot more about Kevin in the show liner notes. We're going to dig into some things about him and what he does professionally and things. But so, Kevin, you're a third generation professional in the commercial insurance industry, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So it's kind of like well, my dad's a doctor. My grandfather was a doctor. So you were kind of indoctrinated into this. What did that look like growing up? How did you become involved with with the insurance industry, and was it something you wanted to do? You fell into it, or kind of how did that all start?
Yeah, I commonly refer to it as a genetic flaw. There's so many of us in the family that are involved in it, and not all working together.
Yeah.
Most of us at different firms. The only ones that are together is my uncle and I. He's also a shareholder at Brady, Chapman, Holland, where I am. And then my dad was in another facet of the business. He was in life side, and then also executive benefits. And then I've got another uncle that has his own independent brokerage firm. We refer some smaller commercial to him. An aunt that's in the personal insurance side. So they were always in those aspects. And growing up, I had no interest.
Yeah.
No interest whatsoever. And so tried to do a couple of different things right out of college, just proving, there's no way I'm going in that industry. And kind of reminds me when I was going to school in Colorado, and my dad came up, and I had been taking a lot of equine science and animal science classes, and he said, "What the heck are you going to do with all of this?" And what I probably should have said is, "I don't know, go in the insurance industry." And it would have served me just as well. So,
Right.
But here I am 25 years later.
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
So it's a people business really, and it's a lot about relationships and
All about
referrals
relationships. That's
and all
right.
that. So you went to college at Colorado State,
I did.
and you said you were majoring in animal sciences. So what was the original plan?
Yeah.
Was it I got to have a major so I can go to Colorado State and party and have a good time?
Yeah,
or- Yeah.
it was probably twofold. I had grown up spending a lot of time in Colorado, just always loved it, and so with the opportunity to go to school there, I jumped at it, but also thought that I might want to be a vet one day. Good friend of ours, growing up, just from elementary school, I worked for his dad a couple of years in high school during the summers, and thought that might be something I wanted to pursue, but started taking a few of those science classes and chemistry classes and what have you, and determined real quick this probably wasn't for me.
Yeah, pre-vet's pretty tough, especially when you get to the organic chemistry part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a fit.
So after you're in college, you worked in Colorado and Wyoming
Yeah.
and South Dakota. So how did you end up bouncing around the western states like that? What'd you do there?
Yeah, so started off with a company outside of, or in Denver. They were actually headquartered in Salt Lake City, but we're all in the western part of the United States called American Linen. They're actually here in Houston now,
Okay.
just recently in the past couple of years, but went through a management training program with them. So all the, when you look at the restaurant linens and
Oh, okay.
uniforms, that guys are wearing it in mines or,
Yeah.
at a garage or something like that. So
Right.
that's what they do, is sell and lease that. And so came up through their program and got into sales, loved that. And so they said, well, this is going pretty well. What would you think if we sent you to Wyoming and you can be over sales in that region? And at the time, it sounded great.
Yeah.
But I was also in my mid-20s. So here I was. I showed up at a location where most of the people had worked for the company longer than I'd been alive. So it took a little bit for them to warm up to me.
Yeah.
And but now I'm 25 and living in a town of 50,000 people, and you're driving a lot all over Wyoming. And by the way, not all of Wyoming looks like Jackson Hole.
Right.
I can promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
And so started spending more time over in South Dakota, and just saw an opportunity that Deadwood and Lead and those areas, Spearfish, that we started going over there and opening up that area. And I was happy to spend more time in South Dakota, because there was a heck of a lot more going on in South Dakota than there was in Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah. Did you get to hunt while you were up there?
A little bit, birds,
Yeah.
more than anything.
Pheasant.
Yeah, and never really did any big game while I was in Wyoming, because I really wasn't there long enough. So they quote unquote promoted me, and I went up there. I think it was January 1st, and so we started coming around. It was about middle of fall, the same year. I was like, I think I'm ready to go. I've had about enough. And so that was enough to scare me all the way back to Texas.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you the wind is blowing in Casper, Wyoming right now.
Yeah.
Drives you crazy.
Yeah, I've spent a little time up there, and it does. It's what's the word I want to use? It's exhausting after a while.
Yeah.
The way that wind cranks up there all the time. So industrial linen,
Yeah.
involved in the beer industry for a while.
Yeah, quickly,
Yeah.
when you're a young guy, you're thinking that'd
Yeah.
be pretty fun, and it was. However, for it was short lived, and I decided that I needed to probably jump into something and find a career. I was still trying to find myself,
Yeah.
and what I wanted to do, what I was had a passion for, and so went to work for a company called Trinity Industries. Great company based out of Dallas, Texas, and large manufacturing company. So they had put me in the rail car division, and so that was fun. Actually, probably didn't put that in your notes, that got to go live in Chicago for a while, lived in Wrigleyville, and had a great experience, and a lot of rail car clients in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then they pulled me back out of Chicago and back to Houston. So that's how I ended up back here.
Again, not a great place to spend winters, though.
That's right.
I've had to work in Chicago in the winter. It's not fun.
Yeah, I think I would pick Chicago over Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah, a little more to do. Yeah,
exactly.
You can just stay inside. Hunting Matters is presented by Copandero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copandero offers 2 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copandero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copandero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copandero.com.
Exactly.
You know, of all those jobs, the diversity of having those different things in different careers, how do they influence your approach to business and leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you just take pieces of each of them, and I think the sales aspect from where I started off with American Linen, that I just fell in love with that, and that was the relationships, and just confirmed that that's what it was all about, and how you grow those relationships are by introductions and referrals, to other people, and that's the way I was able to be successful in doing that. And then you get into a larger publicly held company like Trinity, and now you're looking at some of those role models and watching how they do things, and taking notes from some of those guys that really made an impression on me, and hopefully carried that forward to today.
Do you ever look back and think, during your time in college at Colorado State, and to where you are now, look back, I had no clue that my professional career would take me, all these different places.
Who knew? I mean, during the summers in Colorado, I was working in a little area called Silverthorne, that is in Summit County, which is close to a lot of ski areas that some people might be accustomed to, like Keystone and Breckenridge and Copper Mountain. And so what I was doing in the summers was being a wrangler. So getting to take people out on horseback rides, and, or maybe you take them out on a breakfast ride or a dinner ride. And so had a ton of fun with that. And then in the fall, they would do hunts, and, I was starting to think back then, like, okay, this is something that I might really be interested in. Now, how you make that go, I'm not quite sure, and I never tried it. But back then I was thinking I might be better yoked for something like that.
Yeah.
Who knew that it would end up in insurance in Houston, Texas?
So fast forward now 25 years
Yeah.
with Brady, Chapman, Holland Associates.
Just this past month, yeah.
That's crazy.
Years, yeah.
Did you get a watch or anything?
Yeah, they got me a travel voucher, so
Okay.
so we're excited to use that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what was the key? So obviously, we talked about you've done several different things in your life, as most of us have. What's been the key to your longevity there? Is it something you fell in love with? Is it something that just kind of took you in? I mean, 25 years for anybody to stay anywhere is a long time these days.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would have never thought that I would be with one company for 25 years.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that when I started back then. I think that just really speaks to the company itself, and the leadership, and my partners, and just the culture that was there before I got there, and that we've continued to grow. It's special.
Yeah.
And we've been named as a Houston Chronicle Best Places to Work for, I think we're 15 years now, something to that nature. And so we take a lot of pride in that and work hard on maintaining that culture. And so it's fun to go to work. You've got some great people that you're working with, and it truly is a team.
Yeah.
So to do everything that we need to do for our clients.
Yeah. Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax-deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife-driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non-landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow. As you've matured during those 25 years professionally, I wouldn't say personally, but professionally. Just kidding.
True, very true.
But seriously,
you've known me for
14 years.
Yeah, 10 to 15 of those. So
Well,
you know
well,
firsthand.
because you were one of the people that hired me to come to Houston Safari Club. I remember, I still remember those days, 14 years ago, June of this year, when we first met.
Stuff.
Obviously, you're a leader of the organization. You're, I think, a senior VP and a partner.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're involved heavily in leadership, and I know a lot of young people listen to podcasts and things. How has your leadership style evolved over that time, as far as, because you've had different phases in those 25 years and different roles, I'm sure, in that organization. Have you? Let me give you this example. As hunters, we get older and we become more mentors. I could care less about shooting a big giant deer. Now, I enjoy it.
Sure.
But now I'm kind of at that phase where I like to take people turkey hunting and teach them how to call or teach them what to do. I had hunted with a guy last weekend who's never turkey hunted before, ever. So now I'm kind of more in that role in taking other people to go hunting and do things and teaching them the little I know about it. Parallel that with your career in the industry for 25 years and kind of where you are as far as mentoring others and your leadership role at the organization.
That's a great question because it's something that is at the forefront of the conversation with our partners on a regular basis. One thing that we're real focused on right now is remaining independent. We're one of the largest independent brokerage firms in the Southwest, and we want to leave it that way. I mean, there's a lot of acquisitions, a lot of consolidation within the industry right now, and we've made the decision for as long as we can, unless somebody just did something absolutely silly, that we want to remain independent. So while I've always been in the sales and relationship side of the business, as we talk about longevity and perpetuation of that business, we're all focused on it and trying to bring in young, good people that we can pass this on to when that time comes. So trying to get them to come to me and or feel comfortable enough to come to me and or say, hey, will you join me on this meeting or what have you, that's fun. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. And I get a lot of gratification out of that and just trying to grow the next generation.
I think that's not a problem. It's a responsibility of almost every business that wants to be around for a while and every organization. And I want to kind of transition in Houston Safari Club Foundation because you and I have had a lot of conversations over the years about who is the next generation. When I first came on, it was people like Ralph Cunningham, Dan Duncan, and the Peppers, and all those people. And then now I look at you guys, Kevin Ormston, people in your age group, that now you're becoming that next generation of leadership within the organization that has that experience, and they've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of how to run a nonprofit organization, because it's not all fun. I mean, we all know that. It's a lot of work, especially being a volunteer and being unpaid. So, you and I have talked about the fact that we need to perpetuate Houston Safari Club and other conservation organizations. I know you've been involved in Texas Deer Association. You're very involved in Texas Wildlife Association. So I kind of like to get your viewpoint on the importance of bringing in the next generation of leaders for these organizations, and what do we need to be doing to get that accomplished?
It kind of goes from business over to these organizations, and I don't think Houston Safari Club is alone in that, right? We could name quite a few others that are focused on that.
Well, the industry, we're a bunch of old white dudes mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, that was seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the population of people that hunt, it is diversifying. There's more women. There's more ethnic groups that are getting involved with it. But still, it's viewed as it's a bunch of old white guys that go hunting.
Yeah.
And we've started to work on fixing that. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and some of the folks that you mentioned, that I really looked up to, and I got involved in the club. It's scary to think that we're moving to that, to be the folks that have been here, for a while, because I don't feel like we could ever fill the shoes of some of those individuals. But I think you're right. I mean, that it's our responsibility to help perpetuate the club, and similar to what we were just talking about at BCH is, how do we find them, and doing our due diligence and making sure that we're continually bringing in good people. And one way that we did that just this year was a newly established nominating committee. Yeah. And what we were talking about is, who are some of the folks that we need to be talking to and vetting that process, which we never really have in the past.
Yeah.
And going out and asking people where are they in their Houston Safari Club journey, and are they ready to ride off into the sunset? They've done enough at this point. No, they would rather stay involved, and maybe they'd like to get on the board, or maybe they would like to chair a committee, or maybe as much as, I'd like to become president of the Houston Safari Club one day. So really having those conversations and coming back to the committee and discussing that and making sure that we've got some of those folks that are on our radar. And when you've got a committee, maybe there's some people that you wouldn't have even thought about, but somebody else brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. And I think, we've got to continue to do our due diligence there, and to continue to recruit.
Yeah.
And bring in, new people and or young people that may not know about us yet.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, it's a problem with most, if not all, organizations. Well, are you next, or who's next? I know Bill, and Bill knows Steve, and he knows Kevin, and and that's changed. I think that's a good thing for our organization to be able to go out and start seeking new people. The other thing is, with the reinvigoration of the Stag and Dove Society, our young professionals group, which we've got a really good group in there now, as well as the we're known for our scholarship program, and now starting to work and recapture those past scholarship recipients. And we've formed an alumni program doing that. I mean, that's also another thing I think that could lead to building the next generation of this organization. Is now you're starting to see these kids, or I call them kids because I'm an old man, but that got a scholarship, that are now running the Desert Bighorn Sheep program in the state of Texas, that are now the leaders in teaching and education. They're working at agencies now, and that's been very cool too.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com.
And I know that you've been involved with the organization since 2006.
That's right.
Yes. So
about 20 years now.
What first drew you in?
Really didn't know what I was doing at that point. Had bought a safari, actually at a Texas Wildlife Association convention, and you just saw the price on it, and boy, it seemed like a good deal at the time, not knowing at all what else was coming with that. And so once I had done that, and Ormston went on that with me, and for whatever we ended up buying it for, I think it ended up costing us 10 times that amount, by the time that we got done, and taxidermy and everything else. But what a fantastic trip and a fantastic experience. And so once we had finished that I wanted to be involved. And so just started coming to a few meetings and meeting some people, and just learning more about the Houston Safari Club. And then once I did that, then just asking the questions, hey, how do I get more involved?
Yeah.
And so that's where those committee opportunities came about. And I think if you're going to get involved, that's one thing just to show up for the event. But if you're really going to get entrenched, now you got to get active and get on a committee and get it going.
And that led you eventually to becoming president of the organization. What looking back now, what during your time as president did you see that were challenges or accomplishments or things that stood out during that year for you? That besides hiring me,
Yeah, I was about to say that would have been at the top of the list.
regrettable.
And by the way,
regrettable ever since.
Yeah, and by the way, that would be at the top of the list because the year before, Melanie Pepper was the president.
Oh yeah.
I was the convention chair,
Yep.
and we had no executive director.
Oh yeah.
So that was a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
We had 3 solid office employees that helped make that thing go. But to have you show up, boy, was that a blessing. So thank you for that.
It was like,
Yeah. So that was huge. But as far as just the things that there's just a lot of gratification that went with that year, just from having seen the different aspects and working on different committees and just kind of having that team come together was fun, and just meeting new people. There's a lot of great opportunities in that year. I think you and I went to Washington also, so that was a great experience.
Walker Hill.
Yeah, we sure did, and then getting to go to Vegas, I think, at some point also for that convention, and so just fun experiences that came with it.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you seen, I mean, you've been around obviously with this organization a lot longer than I have. How have you seen it change or evolve over the years, and kind of what is your hope for where it goes moving forward?
Yeah, I think, and you alluded to it earlier with some of those individuals or families that were involved earlier on, and I feel like some of those folks were just the founders of the club, and unfortunately we've lost some of those.
Yeah.
And there were some great ones, and so just trying to go back to the perpetuation conversation and how do we backfill that?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think you lose sight of that, and you're just trying to keep on keeping on without that thought in mind. And so just thinking about how important that is to continue to, so that we're here in another 20 years. But there was some strong individuals that we've lost over the years. And so I don't know if that answers exactly what you're thinking about.
Ralph, I mentioned Ralph Cunningham earlier. I was in hunting camp this past weekend, and that his name came up. And there's another gentleman who's involved in the organization by the name of Rudy Nix. We actually had him on the podcast a while back. And the name Ralph Cunningham came up, and Rudy was like, somebody goes, yeah, I've heard of Ralph. How would you describe him? There's somebody on the side of the table. And Rudy kind of paused and stroked his beard a little bit. And I said, well, I can answer that question. I said, gentleman.
Yeah.
He goes, that's the word.
That's
he goes,
right.
that guy was a classic gentleman.
Yeah.
In everything, the way he carried himself professionally and personally and everything. And
100%.
And I remember Ralph and Deb, his wife, grabbed my wife because we came in when I actually interviewed for the executive director position. And they seated her down there by Ralph and Deb and me down by somebody else. And they did that for a reason, because Ralph wanted to screen her. I mean, but I always have fond memories of Ralph and Deb and some of those that came before us in this organization. And I feel like it's my responsibility, and I'm sure you do too, to uphold that legacy and all the work that they did, because they really, those guys, the men and women of that era and that generation were like, hey, there's 3 or 4 of us, let's form an organization. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters. You know, we can raise some money and do some good for conservation and hunting, and obviously you feel that way. I mean, you know, you've taken leadership roles in other organizations like Texas Wildlife Association. What is it about hunting and conservation that compels you to continue to do that? Because obviously, you have a senior level of leadership in your professional life. You have kids. You're married. You're rodeo. But you keep sticking yourself into these organizations and volunteering. So obviously, you have a conviction for hunting and conservation.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I kind of, in anticipation of this conversation, I started thinking about it, and yeah, there's just a continuing passion for everything that we're doing for conservation. You know, TWA is the same way, but a little bit different.
More of a landowners group.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of highly legislative in nature, and doing a ton for private landowners, but a lot for conservation and youth education, things of that nature also. But I think just everything, thinking about leaving it a little bit better for the next generations. I think with having 3 boys, that's probably always in the back of my mind.
Sure.
You know, loving the hunt, not the kill, the hunt, because to me, and going back to the relationships side of the conversation too, you know, just going on those hunts with whether it's you know, family, friends, clients, I love that.
Yeah.
And so whether it's down in, you know, South Texas or elsewhere, you know, I'm always looking forward to that. But it's our responsibility to preserve it and make sure that it's still here, you know, at the end of our lifetime and for those future generations.
Yeah, I think that's something that's a big misunderstanding. And we've often had those conversations on this program and personally. You know, you've got 3 sectors. You have hunters, you have anti-hunters who you're never going to change their mind. And then you've got the group in the middle that doesn't really hunt, but they don't care. You know, that it's fine if you want to hunt, you know. Cook me a nice meal with some venison, I'll eat it, you know, that group. I think the people that aren't familiar with hunting and the experience of that type of experience in the outdoor don't understand that some of the best times are in a hunting blind with your kids, or around the campfire when everybody gets back in, or around the dinner table or the lunch table. That's my favorite part of, you know, of that community, is meeting new people or spending time with people, getting to know them better around a meal. That sort of thing. I think that's the best part of the whole, you know, weekend and the experience, no matter if you're hunting in Africa or South Texas or whatever. Don't you agree?
No doubt about it. I mean, it's if you end up being lucky enough to harvest something, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But the whole experience of just being with everybody and being outdoors and is great.
Sometimes I like to use hunting camp as a litmus test. We've all had these relationships with people that you can go on vacation with and people that you can't go on vacation with. You could learn pretty quickly in a hunting camp.
Oh, yeah.
If you can do that.
No doubt about it.
It only takes about a day or so to go, I like you, but I don't know if I can spend a week on a cruise ship with you or something like that.
Yeah, you get everybody around a fire pit after dinner, you're going to learn a lot about that individual.
Pretty funny.
No doubt about it.
So now are you convention chairperson for Texas Wildlife Association this year?
I am. I'm a glutton for punishment. So
how are you going to approach building and presenting a conference that's going to be attractive to members as well as the general public? Because, you know, that's always the end goal.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to get people there. We got to raise money so we can give it away.
Yeah. No.
That's the nonprofit world.
Yeah, it is a challenge, and it is a lot of time, but there is a phenomenal staff at TWA, and they carry the brunt of it. They really do. But it is fun to work with that group and just continue to get it closer and closer. That'll be in July. Mm-hmm. But there's different aspects, and you know this better than anybody else. You know, as you're getting all your live auction items together, getting your sponsors, lined up, and a lot of returning sponsors, which we're thankful for.
Sure.
And then now you're lining out your exhibitors, all the same things that we do here at Houston Safari Club, but trying to find that entertainment also that's gonna be a pull. So we've got Steve Ranella coming on Saturday for lunch, so I think that'll help.
Oh yeah.
But it's a regular conversation as to where are we? What does the dashboard look like? And where are we percentage to goal right now?
In the heart of nature, give your deer the nutrition they deserve with Record Rack Deer Feeds. The premium feeds support antler growth and overall herd health. Whether you're a wildlife enthusiast or a dedicated hunter, Record Rack Deer Feeds provide essential nutrients for a thriving herd. Choose Record Rack Deer Feeds for optimal deer nutrition. Visit recordrack.com to learn more.
So the hunting part of your life, obviously it's a very, very important part of your life. How did you introduce your kids to hunting?
Yeah, so that one was a little bit easier because by the time they were born, we had a place in South Texas, a family place outside of Cotulla. And so we got that in 2003. My youngest was born in 2008, and his older brothers, twins, born in 2005.
Okay.
So as soon as we thought they were ready, I was taking them out in deer blinds with me and letting them see what it was all about. And then just slowly having them learn to shoot, and then whenever they were ready, then that was the place that all of them were able to harvest their first deer and or shoot birds, and so that has been a blast getting to watch each of them. And like we were just talking about, that's the icing on the cake if they got something, but spending the time with them down there is just invaluable. I mean, I'll never forget it, and still love it till today.
Yeah, my mom, growing up, I lived in North Louisiana on the bayou, and so mowed yards, bought a boat, bought a little, I remember a Sears 5 horsepower boat motor just so I can get around the bayous and stuff. And my mom always said, and looking back, she goes, "That's what kept you out of trouble."
Yeah.
You being on the water, you being out in the woods, that sort of thing. So it's kind of good. I mean, you do have, as a father, you kind of have an alternative modus operandi. If I can keep them off the streets and keep them at the ranch, I know I can probably keep them safer.
That's right.
And not under your not under your grip, but at least you know where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Do they drag their friends out there too?
That's starting to happen more and more. So I think as they're getting older, so and that's a fun aspect of it too, is them having their friends out. So
I've observed you at the ranch, at Rock and Sea, right?
Right, Rock and Sea South.
Rock and Sea South. So you run a pretty tight ship down there. And I say that from the perspective of you really manage your wildlife population, from deer to whatever. I know you guys do an annual cull hunt where you've got to balance your does and your bucks and that sort of thing. Why did you start doing that? How did you start doing that? Did you learn from other people? And how has it made your property a better ranch as far as your wildlife goes?
Yeah, so I can talk about this all day long.
We got time.
And so, and this has, first of all, been a really fun project to do with my dad. And he originally got interested in wanting to have a place because we were going down to the Herradura Ranch, and
Right, backs up right to you, right?
it is. So the place that we have is used to be called the Herradura River Pasture,
Okay.
and so there is a gentleman by the name of David Schuster who is one of our biologists, to today, and flies with us every year and helps throughout the year. So he's just been fantastic. But he used to manage the Herradura, and about the time that my dad was expressing some interest in a place in South Texas, David had said, "Hey, we've got a pasture that you might be interested in taking a look at." And so after all those years of quail hunting down there, and we went to take a look at it, and the rest was history. But getting to your question, that once we got on that place, it was brush. I mean, that's really. I mean, they might have had a few blinds on there.
Sure.
I think there was a food plot that had been fenced, but other than that, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So we just started with projects right off the bat, just running water and getting some water troughs set up, running water line, and just thinking about all the things that we were going to need to do, to sustain a successful deer herd. And one of the things that I tried to interject along the way was, how about we bring in some exotics? And my dad and I had a number of conversations about that. He was not interested in that. And he was like, how about we just do one thing and we do that well?
Okay.
And so it took me a while, but I finally agreed that maybe he's not wrong on that. And so just starting to do supplemental feed and doing prescribed burns and disking and planning and build some new tanks and just everything we could to make sure, and as David Schuster always used to say, you don't want these animals to be stressed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to have a meal ticket. You want them to have an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Right.
So
Okay.
so that they could have water at any time and feed is nearby. And so we were doing all the things that we could. And also early on, we brought in some deer. We're not doing that any longer. I feel like we, got a good foundation. We already had some good genetics in there, but we supplemented those. And so now just working on keeping our numbers right. But if you're going to have something, let's do it. And like my dad said, and do it well. So we've got some pretty cool deer walking around now. No pin deer.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to share and have people come down and see it.
Are you looking for a smarter way to manage your document imaging and print environment? Dex Imaging delivers industry-leading printers, copiers, and fully managed print services designed to cut cost, boost productivity, and simplify your workflow. Whether you're a small business or a Fortune 500 company, Dex provides personalized local service with the power of a national network so you get fast, reliable support wherever you are. Dex gives back, proudly supporting organizations like Houston Safari Club Foundation by giving through profit sharing. Dex Imaging, smarter technology, exceptional service, proven results. Visit deximaging.com or email Adam Montgomery at adam.montgomery@deximaging.com.
Did you or your dad have a background in this? Was this trial and error? Or is this whole ranching thing is a whole different world? I mean, obviously you rely on Schuster or a biologist to help you with that part of it, but
yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. And have we made some mistakes along the way? Absolutely. The ranching thing was, especially to this extent, very different. And where maybe it wasn't totally new is my dad had a place in Schulenburg that's from a generation before him. My granddad had that, and he took that on and raised cattle there, small, much smaller place by way of comparison, and whole different, look, vegetation, everything else than South Texas. But so he had been doing that. I was never part of those operations like I am down in South Texas. But so he was ready to jump off and try something a little bit bigger, and that's how we got to that.
well, that has to be a great experience and a great source of pride to you that it started with your dad and now you're being able to share that with your sons and you've seen that, like you've seen organizations you work with change. You've seen that change and improve over the years, and it's got to be a great source of pride for you. Now you've hunted not only South Texas, but let's kind of plot a map here. You've hunted all over the world, so let's kind of do a big scan of where all you've hunted internationally.
Yeah, I mean, so by way of comparison with some of our members, I mean it's
Well, we're not comparing you to but you've been in some cool places.
Yeah, for sure. So and I'm ready to do more. And as a matter of fact, next month we're going to go to Spain.
Okay.
And hopefully we're successful in finding a Bassetti ibex, and but let's see, New
You're just
Zealand.
going to do the one?
Well, I think this started off as a hunt
Uh,
trip, and then my wife is going with, which I'm very happy about that, by the way. And so, in case she's listening, and
you going with, who are you going with?
so we're gonna go with Bruno.
Oh, yeah. Well, she'll be entertained.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So
Oh, Bruno. I hope he's watching this too.
Bruno and I have known each other for a long time. I've referred him to a lot of people, and so finally happy to be going ourselves. But
It'll be a blast.
we were gonna make it a longer trip, and now it got shortened. So that's why we're only doing the one this time. We're gonna do Barcelona for a couple of days at the front end, go hunt for our how many ever days it takes, and then we'll do Barcelona at the back end and come home. So it'll be a quicker trip, and maybe that'll just be enough for us to decide we need to go back and do some more.
So Spain's the next big trip.
Spain,
But
yep.
before that, we're
So New Zealand was another one that I just absolutely loved, and
New Zealand.
I could do that.
I could
one
live
again.
there.
Yes,
I mean, it's incredible.
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I could do that one again for sure. In Africa, South Africa, a couple of times, and really more plains game type hunts than anything. The only dangerous game at this point, Cape Buffalo. There's some of those other ones. Maybe I'm not as interested in as some others, but I could do that. I could do that every year if given the opportunity for sure. In South America, so Buenos Aires and going down there to just bird hunt at this point. So I haven't done anything big game. I take that back. On one of those hunts, did take a smaller stag, but as far as being down in Patagonia or what have you, hadn't done that one yet. But that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So those guys are starting to get as big a stag as what you'd have over in New Zealand. So might be worth going back.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit of fishing at the same time. And then Alaska, fishing a couple of times, but have not hunted there. But that might be that's on the list too. So I've got a lot.
If you want to do a blacktail hunt, let me know. I'll go back with you.
Okay, that's a
'Cause
deal.
I've been twice and I love it.
That's a deal. So
Love it.
there's a lot of places that are still on the list, and then just really enjoying some of the North American hunts that I've done over the last couple of years. Mule deer hunts in Colorado. I've done that a number of times, and elk hunts in Colorado.
Gunworks just launched a new rifle system. It's called Index. It's sized for adventure and engineered for extremes. With barrel lengths as short as 16 inches and a folding stock that collapses to an ultra-short profile, the Gunworks Index fits nicely in a UTV, a float plane, or across the seat of your truck without sacrificing accuracy. The Index features a built-in ARCA and pick rail for use on tripod or bipod, and a night vision rail to ensure you're ready for any scenario. The Gunworks Index delivers magnum capability in the most compact chassis rifle system on the market. Visit gunworks.com to learn more.
I still got to go back and get my regular fix.
Yeah.
There. And one of the funnest hunts I think I've ever been on over the last couple of years was in Colorado and doing a mountain lion hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And that was unbelievable.
Why was that so much fun?
So, you think these are just going to be kind of, all right, we're going to get this mountain lion bait up in a tree and it's going to be over. But watching these dogs work was incredible. And it had a great guide, and he had a great group. And so just at the end, how this one came down and just how it ended up, and this mountain lion ended up in a cave and instead of a tree, so that made it a little more lively, and so I had to get a little more involved in that than I wanted to.
Sure.
But it all worked out well. Nobody got hurt. I asked my youngest who was with me, I said, so were you worried about your old dad at the time, or are you just more entertained? He was like, I was pretty entertained, Dad. So, I was like, thanks for your concern.
You had dogs, you had a guide. I'm just back here observing.
I asked the guide, he said, I'm going to pull these two dogs. We're going to put you in the mouth of that cave. And if he comes out, duck. I'm like, right. I mean, as it is, I've got terrible footing,
Right.
as it is. And I might have been falling for a little while, but fortunately it didn't work out that way.
Duck.
Yes, duck.
That's not words you want to hear.
Yeah.
In a social setting, in a bar, on a hunt, duck.
Yeah, no, it didn't invoke a whole lot of confidence. I can tell you that. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, that rifle, don't look through that scope. It's way off. You're going to need to look through those iron sights." Thanks. Appreciate it.
Wow. Was this in the heat of the moment?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I like a guy who's prepared.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna pull these dogs and put you in the mouth of that cave. So
Wow. So that was your, I guess that was your most fun hunt. Was that one of your most challenging hunts as well?
I would say so. I mean,
Yeah.
it was there's quite a bit of walking involved in that. There's a lot of riding
Yeah.
too.
You guys were on
but-
horseback?
So we were on horseback for a couple of days, and it just was so dry.
Yeah.
We weren't coming across any cats whatsoever, even any sign of cats. So there was a little bit of snow after a couple of days, and so we just went up to the northwest quadrant of Colorado. We needed to get in some moisture, and that's
Yeah.
when we got to them.
Got it. Got it. What's big? I know you're going to do Spain next, but what's big on your bucket list as far as the next few years down the road?
Yeah, so as we talked about Alaska and some of these sheep hunts are getting a little bit more expensive these days. So I don't think that's probably going to
Yeah.
turn around anytime soon. So
Yeah.
maybe that's worth looking at sooner than later. And also while I'm young enough to where I can
Yeah.
withstand a hunt like that.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably at the top.
Double up on a doll and a bear at the same trip, maybe.
Uh,
That'd be
but-
fun.
That'd be fantastic. Well, we'll see.
That'd be awesome.
Throw a caribou in there somewhere too.
So does your wife hunt?
She does not hunt. She will go with periodically. So, that New Zealand hunt, I took her on that one, and that was kind of a test. We hadn't been on a trip like that quite yet, and so she doesn't do real good with heights.
Okay.
And so there was a hunt or two that we needed a helicopter to drop us off so that we could get up in the mountains and go find our animals. And so there she was flying off in the helicopter, and I was really wondering how that was going to work out. But
Yeah.
she held tough, and but she did great on that hunt. She hadn't asked to go on too many more like that since,
I
but
get it.
South Texas, she'll go down there and go right around and periodically go sit in a deer blind, but she's not going to pull the trigger, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's fun to have her with you on the hunts, but if I'm not gonna force her to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, Charlotte, she'll shoot pigs and things, but she's not eat up with the hunting bug like we are,
Yeah.
This episode of the Hunting Matters podcast is brought to you by B&B Taxidermy. Since 1983, the Baird family at B&B Taxidermy have been the premier experts in trophy mounts. Whether it's African, North American, global, or exotic, B&B Taxidermy will provide design, artistry, and attention to detail that you won't find anywhere else. B&B Taxidermy can also design and decorate your trophy room, showcase, or office with custom dioramas built to suit your space. Check out their showroom of exotic trophies on Jones Road in Houston, or visit their website at bbtaxidermy.com. B&B Taxidermy, proud supporters of the Hunting Matters podcast and Houston Safari Club Foundation.
Well, it probably that's a blessing, right? That could,
Double taxidermy,
Yeah.
double hunting trophy fees. Yeah, I do know a couple of young men who are hunting with their wives, and they're like, in fact, I talked to a guy who's involved with our stag and dove last weekend, and he said, she has more animals on the target list for Africa this year than I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Yep.
And they've got they're raising their daughter too, and he's got a son, raising the son in the hunting environment. And he's all about it. He's this big, but he's all about it too. As far as the the next phase goes, you with the Spain stuff and with the other things you guys are going to try to do. Do you think your kids are going to get into international hunting as well?
I don't know. I've got one that I think he's a little more passionate about it than the other two. The other two enjoy it. They just may not have the fire in the belly like he does. So at this point, he's the one. But you never know. You know that the other two could decide that that's something that they're really interested in. We'll see it. If they do, I'd be happy to join them and carry their bags.
Maybe they'll meet a good woman that'll drag them back into it if they get disassociated.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. So, I think as I get older, it's something that I just want to watch.
Yeah.
Them do, and just be along for the ride.
Right.
I'm not going to have to pull the trigger as much with them.
Sure.
As much as I'm going to enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel that way even about other adults that I take hunting with me. Like I said before, that have never hunted before. We had a guy turkey hunting with us last week that had never turkey hunted, and he showed up in camp on Friday and said, "I couldn't sleep last night." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I'm so excited." And he's probably, I'm going to say he's in his late 20s, early 30s. I'm so excited about going turkey hunting for the first time. I couldn't sleep last night. I started packing 2 weeks ago. I'm like, where'd you pack? He goes, I just had to set my clothes out and make sure everything was there. And I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that if I've got a big trip planned, I'm 3 weeks out. I'm starting to lay stuff out in the extra bedroom and kind of going, do I really need this? Especially like Alaska, do I really need that? If I'm going on a float plane, I can only take 40 pounds. What can I live with? So I said, I get it. I'm the same way. I'll start laying stuff out.
Oh yeah.
Weeks ahead of time.
I may or may not have already done some of that for Spain. So yeah. So here.
Well, that's the trip that you don't want to get over there and not have something.
That's right. That's right.
It's like when we go to Canada and we go bear hunting. It's like you're out in the middle of nowhere. People, why are you taking 2 bows? Because if this one dies or fails, I can't get it fixed.
Yeah.
And then what am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, going back on one thing you were just talking about and being excited to take people hunting and what have you, I think down at the ranch and being with people that maybe haven't shot a deer before and or haven't shot a buck, ever any kind of buck, much less a whitetail or a nice whitetail buck, and being part of that is so gratifying.
Yeah.
I think that's as gratifying as pull the trigger yourself.
Yeah.
So I just want to do more and more of that.
Yeah, it is real cool, especially if it's somebody who's grown.
Yeah.
As my mom would say, they're in their 30s or something. They've never had an opportunity to go hunt deer or hunt a decent buck and that sort of thing. That's pretty cool.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
Because they automatically convert back to a 15-year-old after it happens usually.
No doubt.
It's pretty funny.
No doubt.
Pretty
and
funny
they'll never forget it.
Oh, no. No, absolutely not. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of where I am now as a hunter and as an outdoorsman. So, any advice for other fathers, young fathers that may be watching or listening to the show that are just getting their kids into hunting, just starting to think about it, what age, how should I introduce them to it? Anything that you learned from your mistakes even, about how to get young kids into hunting.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of great organizations out there that you can get involved in or become members of, like Houston Safari Club or TWA. That there's a lot of those resources that are readily available for you, and not to mention that you've got the resources of all those individuals that are members that you can ask those questions of, that have been there, done that. So that you don't have to make the mistakes. Maybe let those folks tell you what they did and what worked for them or didn't work for them, and versus just trying to go at it alone and do it by yourself. So get involved, ask some questions, and I think the more you do it, the more you're going to want to go do it some more.
Good advice. Good advice. Well, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. We've already eaten up an hour of time, and
hard to believe. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you coming in, and we'll have you back on, and definitely after Spain, because I want to hear about the trip.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to.
All right, folks. Our guest this week has been Kevin Comiskey. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this week's episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. Have a great week and be safe out there in the woods. Take care.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.